remember.
Yeah, it was wild.
Nashville, bachelorette.
Oh, really?
Like, if I had another bachelorette party, I would invite you.
With a bunch of 20
Perfect timing. Perfect timing.
This moment for you.
I kept up with them, I have to say.
There you go.
I was in better shape than they were.
And they gave me this for my birthday. Man, I get a printout. And it's the real McCoy.
Liz has some
It's Ken
extras.
and Barbie's handsome friend.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh my God. I know.
I'm feeling like that's a good role.
And he's dressed like Austin Powers. Like I will.
So I'd like to call this meeting, this August 15th meeting of the Traverse City DDA to order. Liz, can you help us with roll call, please? Here.
Yeah. Here.
Here. Here.
Here? Here.
We have quorum. Thank you very much, Liz.
Wow, fine.
Special order of business. We haven't had a new member on the DDA for, what, maybe 15 months, 16 months. That may be a new world record, but very happy to welcome our newest member, Caitlin Early. Not putting you on the spot, Caitlin, but any words of wisdom for us?
Oh, words of wisdom. I'm not sure I have those, but I look forward to gathering some while I serve on this board. I'm really pleased and honored to be serving alongside all of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks. And I'm sure we all know that Kate has been serving on the Arts Commission, and Kate, you do work for TART.
I do work for Tucker.
So I'm going to put the perfect plug together, and is if anyone hasn't seen the sculptures on the Boardman Lake Loop Trail around the 8th Street spur, they're really kind of cool.
Yeah, they are.
So we appreciate those.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay, next, we have the agenda in front of us. Anyone have any suggested changes to the agenda? If not, may I have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Joubran. Second?
I'll second.
Excuse me, second by Ms. Spencer. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment. So we have two public comment opportunities, one at the beginning of the meeting, one at the end of the meeting. Any public comment for this at this time? Appearing none, we'll move to the consent calendar. So the purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one DDA board motion without discussion. Any member of the DDA board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed therefrom and placed elsewhere on the agenda for individual consideration by the DDA board, and such request will be automatically respected. If an item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted in parentheses on the agenda is approved by a single DDA board action adopting the consent calendar. Item A, consideration of approving the minutes from the July 18th, 2025 DDA regular board meeting. Approval recommended. Item B, consideration of approving the July 2025 financial reports and distributions for the DDA General, Old Town TIF, and TIF 97 funds. Approval recommended.
Mr. Chair, we just need to add the Arts Commission is on there too, so.
Oh, yes, thank you. So it'd be distributions for the DA General, Old Town TIF, and TIF 97, as well as the July 2025 Arts Commission financial report. Any questions? Is there a motion?
I'll move that.
Motion by Mr. Kirkwood. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Old business. Give it over to you, Harry.
All right, good morning, everyone. Just an update on our TIF 97 project priorities. we keep advancing the football down the field. So sorry for the sports metaphors, but we are making progress on Rotary Square. What you see in your packet is the kind of final 2 designs. We are working with our consultant to essentially come up with the final design, which is not just one or the other of the 2 that are in your packet. It's kind of a aggregation of some of the elements in each of those plans. We hope to have a steering committee meeting still in September to review that plan, and then our intent is to have a presentation at our October meeting on the final design. So progress with that is going well. As well as the Farmers Market Pavilion, we are continual weekly meetings with our consultant and the city engineering department on the conceptual and then moving into schematic design for the pavilion. And it's the same with the Riverwalk. We had a preliminary look at the schematic design for the Riverwalk and hope to have that here shortly in September and October as well. So some good progress on all 3 of those projects.
Any questions for Harry? So it sounds like in our September meeting, we're going to have actually be able to have some discussions more in depth on the Farmers Market Pavilion and Rotary Square?
I'm hoping so, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Seeing no questions on the old business, let's go on to new business. Arts Commission appointment.
As everyone recalls, the Arts Commission is made up of 7 members. One of those members is a person appointed from the DDA board. And we've had 2 members sitting on our board who have served on the Arts Commission. Actually 3, because Jeff was serving for the last couple of months. But with Caitlin's appointment to the DDA board and her already commitment to the Arts Commission, it seemed like a natural fit that Caitlin would be appointed as the DDA representative to the Arts Commission. And that is what you see in the memo before you.
That sounds great to me.
Yeah.
There you go. Do you need a motion?
Yes.
Yes, we need a motion.
Well, I guess I'll make that motion then.
I'll
Okay.
support it.
Motion made by Mr. Kirkwood and seconded by Mr. Jabron.
Congratulations and thank you.
Congrats to you, too.
Formal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next is the Rotary Square use policy.
Right, so we've been, as a staff, looking at a policy for the use of Rotary Square for quite some time. And we've consulted with the city, just in terms of kind of their permitting process and some of their standards. We've also been working with our legal counsel on a policy for the use of the square, and actually going to have Lauren come up to the microphone and just kind of give a little bit of an overview of the policy, how we got to what you see in your packet, and then hopefully your approval.
Hi. I don't really have a whole lot to add beyond that. We've been working on this policy for quite a while now. Since Rotary Square is a relatively new space, we wanted to make sure that there was a use policy so public would understand what is allowed, what's not allowed, what the general understanding is. So the policy is extremely similar. It's modeled after the city's park and public land use policy, and we've had it reviewed by our legal counsel as well. As the future design of Rotary Square continues to take shape throughout this process, obviously this policy may need to be amended in the future if there's different amenities or things that are not currently at Rotary Square that become part of Rotary Square, but this can be the foundation in the meantime for how the square is used. So some of the things that we have outlined in here are permitted activities. The point that we wanted to ensure was in the policy was that all events need to be open to the public. And they need to be free as well. They are allowed to have some components of selling or fundraising as long as it's not the primary component of an event at Rotary Square. We really want to make sure that it remains a place that is open and available for everyone to use. Beyond that, we just kind of outline what the permit process looks like. fees, exempt activities, priority of the applications, how we review them, and then the general conditions as well. So just the general everyday rules outside of an event, how the space can be used and what the rules are, which are essentially just aligned with city ordinance. So.
A question. When a person, I saw in here that there was some guidelines for how to request the use of the space for a particular group or something like that. And I was just wondering if there's if we should be thinking about if one group keeps on doing it over and over and over, and also if some group sort of books it out every Sunday or every Friday for 2 years. Do you know what I mean? Is there any discretion that the city has with regard to like non-content based restrictions on sort of repetitive use or sort of like taking over? Do you know what I mean? Making it, it occurred to me that, I don't know, with my ancient legal background, sometimes I think about go to the worst case scenario if someone was, you know, what kind of bad situations could we get into?
Yeah, that's not addressed in here or in this policy. Doesn't have anything about the repeated or like recurring booking for like a recurring event. We don't have anything in this about that.
Yeah, that's why I was asking.
Yeah, it's not something that we've seen yet. So I think that's probably why it's not reflected in here, even though, you know, sometimes it's better to be thinking of all the possibilities. But the city does have in their parks policy, not about a recurring event, but about how far in advance you can book a recurring event, because obviously they do some really large events such as Cherry Festival, things like that. We did not put a policy in this policy about how far in advance you can reserve something. So whether you can reserve, you know, an event a year in advance, or we say we want to book this every July. I think that our thought process on that was as needed or as it comes up, we can address that. And then if it needs to be amended in the policy, then we can.
Yeah, my suggestion would be that you can book things as far as a year in advance, and that the city can, simply by virtue of the recurrence, that's enough for the city to say they don't want to.
Remember, this is a DDA policy, so this is be clear with
Okay.
everybody since.
So
this
we
is-
don't have that's not on our
Right.
plate. So just noted for the city, just to avoid future problems of anyone saying that you're denying my event because of the content, you might want to have that discretion built right into the policy. Because nowadays, you never know what people are going to ask to do or why.
I would just echo that. It's not necessarily nefarious either, too. It's just more of accessibility. You know, Sunset Park for a long time had a church service every Sunday. Not an issue, not a heavily used park, never really came up. But if the city was to move to maybe encourage more weddings there or something, that was going to always, you know, be a problem. So, you know, just because someone's there first and been doing it for a few years doesn't mean they should have absolute control over it. So.
Exactly.
Have there been any instances in the past year or two where this policy would have come into effect? I mean, what's our demand, I guess, is the first question.
There's definitely been some gray area in some kinds of situations, because without a policy to refer to, sometimes there's a decision that we want to make about what the square can be used for, but we don't have anything to say, and here's what the board has stated that this is how they would like it to be used. So sometimes it has, because Rotary Square is still such a new space, that people are still learning, what do we want to use this for, that there have been a couple instances where it's like, I'm not sure whether or not that is something that we should be moving forward with, but we don't have a policy in place, and we need to have one in place that is approved by the boards, so that we're all in agreement that this is how we want to move forward. So yes, it definitely has been we've been in need of it, and especially there have been people who have expressed wanting to come back year after year, that we haven't known quite yet whether that's something that we're going to allow. So yes, we have been in need of a policy for sure.
The other thing I would mention is, to the extent that fundraising is a permitted activity, now you're edging into kind of political stuff that can get touchy, and as a government body, we obviously can't make any judgments on content-based stuff. But who's to say whether fundraising is the primary or not primary sort of agenda on this thing? That's awfully subjective to me. And, it's public space. Somebody's raising money for their cause or their candidate, or, it's can get a little touchy. Or want to flag that for people to be paying attention to. The people that have to actually make the policy and enforce and implement the policy need to make sure that they steer clear of thorny legal issues. I'm not a lawyer, by the way. Not in this state.
Neither am I.
Yeah, what,
Yeah,
do you think?
yeah, Scott, I mean, I guess you've been involved with this, so
Yeah,
any comments to at least some of the concerns from the board?
yes, or happy to provide some. First, credit where credit is due. Ross, my colleague, and Lauren were the two that were principally working on this policy, and they put in a lot of hard work and effort to shape something that's going to be usable in the future. That said, as with any sort of policy or regulation, we're going to learn a little bit as we go along. The city's been doing this for a while, and they have a robust policy that has worked for seems to have worked for them for a while, and that's what this is modeled after. So my suggestion would be that we can incorporate any of these elements as the board sees fit. But there's a part of this that I think is going to be, we just need to move forward and see how things sort of shake out as we go to determine whether or not it really is a problem. If somebody's trying to book the place up every weekend for the next year, that obviously is a problem and flags for us that we need to address that as part of the policy. And then we come back to you and look for a revision of that. If that never happens, then we don't necessarily need to draft the policy for the occasion that it might until something really comes up.
Just then, for the record, I'd like to say that we are flagging this as an issue that we're concerned about without regard to the content of anybody's particular agenda for their use of the space, that from an accessibility standpoint and just a public policy standpoint, we may want to go and revisit that, this lack of restriction on repetitive or, types of uses.
I mean, I think to Scott's point, if we want to add that to this policy, we can make that as part of the motion, that we approve the policy with the amendment of adding some kind of language, and then kind of give staff some leeway to create that language.
I don't know that we need to add the language at this time.
You
I
just
just
wanna
want
know
it to be on the record, so that in
Yeah.
the future, if someone says, you're doing this to me because of you don't like what I have to say and what I'm doing,
Right.
we can say, no, we already flagged this as a thing that we were concerned about, that we might do regardless of your particular event.
So are there any more questions on the policy? If not, does anyone?
I would make the motion, but first question, I hate to do this because it's two lawyers going to be talking. I mean,
Not a
you
lawyer.
can state that it's
Not
on
a
the
lawyer.
record, but it's not on the record unless it's in the motion.
Mm.
So, I mean, if you really want it flagged for that purpose, you need to make a motion that states that as a, something to highlight.
Yeah, then I guess I would say something along the lines of,
Wait,
That-
so wait.
That was
So,
a question, but a statement, but.
okay,
it's-
so did
yeah.
you make the motion?
I did not.
You did not. Okay, thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
so there's a motion on the table?
No,
No.
there's not.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to try to craft a motion here. Make a motion that we approve the policy as drafted, with the caveat that it is a kind of provisional policy at this time. We're going to see how it goes over time, and we may make some additional restrictions to ensure accessibility to the public, and that may or may not involve kind of guidelines about frequency and about how far in advance the Rotary Square might be able to be reserved by different groups.
That's a really hard
who wants to repeat that
motion.
That was one sentence?
Does anyone want to second that motion?
I'll support it.
Okay, so motion made by Mr. Kirkwood, supported by Mr. Jobron. But I think in all fairness to our staff, who has to record the motion, if you could somehow restate that in a,
Okay.
you know,
I'm going to try to restate that. Yeah.
If I may, it's accessibility and use regarding repeating events.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not only repeating, it's like how far ahead. So, sorry.
I think the city has policy for that, though. That's just keeping it simple.
So let's try to read it one more time.
I'm going to try it. That we approve the policy with the caveat that it may be revisited to account for repetitive bookings and long-term future bookings of the square.
I guess at this point, I would recommend we bring this back in September. Right now, I would vote no on this because it's too unclear and vague. I think if it's worth the time and effort, we could table it until September. That'd be my recommendation. It's worthy enough, and it's going to come up, so it's one item to integrate. There we go. I like that idea. Would you be open to that friendly amendment to pass it as is with tabling the reoccurrence until September?
Yeah, maybe please, can we put it on the agenda for next time? And then, in the meantime, we can hash out some language for a motion.
so we have a friendly amendment to approve as written, to bring back the policy in September for potential modification for repetitive use.
No, let's just say modification period.
Okay,
We'll remember what we need to talk about.
okay.
Is legal counsel comfortable?
I am comfortable with that.
Okay.
Sorry, we do this all the time. I want it to be on the record. It's not on the record unless you actually put it in.
Thank you, Gary.
Yep. I
Any
learned that the
any
hard
questions
way.
on the motion? No, it was a friendly amendment to
Very amended.
Pete's.
Redo it?
If you like, sure.
I move that we approve the policy as presented with the caveat that we will revisit the language in our next meeting.
And I support. Again.
Okay. Any more questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Pete.
Executive Director Report.
Just a couple things I want to highlight. We, and I'd say the collective we as the city, the DDA, as well as kind of community members that include TART and Beta and others, worked to install a new stop sign at the corner of Pine and Front for eastbound traffic as part of the two-way pilot. We are working with Progressive to monitor that intersection. They have cameras up. And so we're taking kind of traffic counts and also looking at the adherence to that stop sign. I would say that we had received 0 comments, both via email or calls, and the same thing with the streets department. And so usually when we make a change, we do hear from the community, and we've not heard anything from this one. So this stop sign had been a topic of discussion through the pilot starting from day one. and we've decided to make the change this past month, and so far, no big issues that we're aware of, but we're monitoring it as we go. As you recall, the last couple months, as part of our, and as also part of our budget, we had allocated funding to what we call kind of small fixes or small repairs throughout the downtown. And we worked with the city engineering staff to identify about 4 small projects that we could address. And we had done one of those projects, which was repaving portions of Union and Cass Streets. That's been done. But the second project was a proposal to essentially just reconstruct the current mid-block crosswalk on Cass Street. And we took that to City Commission, and the City Commission did not approve that. They want to see more bump outs as part of that mid-block crosswalk. So we were proposing just a simple just reconstruction as is. And they are asking for the DDA and the city to come back with a bigger project that involves bump outs to create kind of a shorter pedestrian distance. In doing so, they really took a reconstruction project to a major project. So in all likelihood, this project would not be done this fiscal year. If we want to address it next year, we can, at an additional cost that would be borne by the city. At least that was discussed. So we are now working with the city engineering department to shift to potentially the 2 other remaining projects on that original list of 4, which include the reconstruction of the sidewalk on the corner of Park and State, which if you've been around that corner, it's pretty bad. And then on the alley just north of the mid-block crosswalk on Cass, the apron as you come out of the alley onto Cass has been patched, but it's in really bad shape. And so those 2 projects are what we're considering as kind of this next allocation of small repair funding. We continue to work with the city engineering department to identify other needs. And we do have, again, if you recall in our budget, a line item for other kind of construction projects within the downtown that is in partnership with the city. So we'll continue to monitor other opportunities, but I think we're going to try to focus on those 2, and I'll have a more thorough update on how we progress with those 2 at our September meeting.
So I guess maybe for that, does anyone, I'm just thinking for those particular 2 projects that you mentioned, where do we get the most bang for our buck?
I think if we look at what's left of the projects that we're going to do, those are only the ones that we have identified and the only ones we have bid out. So I think that's the bang for your buck, because we have 2 projects that are essentially turnkey ready that we can move on.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at.
I think that the Cass Street alley there it's bad.
They have patched it just kind of temporary, but it kind of the full apron needs to be redone. Yeah. Any other questions on those? Okay. The TIF implementation policy was discussed again at the August 4th meeting, but no action was taken. It is on Monday night's City Commission agenda for discussion and potential approval, and we'll see how that goes. But that's something that's been in discussion for several months now. The other thing I want to mention is a couple of non-motorized improvements that we're working on with city engineering, as well as other kind of non-motorized partners within the city. There has been discussion about ways that we can better transition pedestrians and bicyclists from the Bayfront Tart Trail into downtown via Park Street. And so we've been working for quite some time now on ways that we could, at least through potential stencils or paint, consider either kind of a bike shift between between that intersection and some other signage and just better awareness of how to do that. And then also, as you come if you cross the intersection at the East Front Street Grandview Parkway intersection on a bike, your path kind of just empties out into nothing. And so we are working to essentially have a bike ramp that would go down from the path onto the bike lane on the street at the East Front Street intersection. So we are actively working to implement those 2 projects. It looks like the ramp at East Front Street intersection will be the first one to go, and we're still working on some details on the Park Street, but those 2 things are advancing, and that's good for mobility for downtown.
Are those funded by MDOT or by the city?
Those are actually funded by the city and/or us, so that's part of the discussion. And we have that funding as allocated in our budget, so those are ongoing conversations with the city as well.
Two things. One, for the ramp,
Yeah.
there's Nate Elkins, former DDA member and designer, had some really nice designs 15 years ago for that area. Might be worth digging up again or reaching out to him. I know the engineering team love working with him. Two, I'm just gonna go on record, not record in terms of our, any votes or anything, just displeasure with the city in terms of this TIF policy. People voted on it in November, it was passed, there should have been a policy within 3 months. This is unacceptable. I don't know what the hangups are, I'm not in the room or anything, but like, come on, it's a policy, it's gonna have adoption or amendments going forward anyway, so get a policy on the books. People spoke, so make it happen.
Last thing I want to talk about is the mid-block crosswalk conversation for State Street. And this really came up as part of the two-way pilot that we've been working on, or other ways that we could increase pedestrian accessibility to that street and slow down traffic. And we had actually allocated a certain amount of money in our current budget to potentially implement one mid-block crosswalk on State, with the idea that we would do 5 and kind of match the mid-block crosswalks that are on Front Street on State Street. We have a preliminary design and cost estimate from city engineering, which you see in your packet. And we actually met with city engineering yesterday to talk about potential next steps. One of the caveats is perhaps when the decision is made on whether this is going to remain two-way traffic or one-way traffic, how does that accommodate or not accommodate bike lanes? And if that is the case, if that's decided, then perhaps this design gets tweaked. Right now, this design that you see in the packet only has one west or eastbound bike lane, not 2. So we're kind of waiting for some motion from the city in December in terms of whether that will remain two-way or one-way. However, what we were asking for is just kind of a reaction from you. Is this still worth pursuing, as we had it in our budget, to kind of further the conversation? We'll be doing the same thing with the city commission. Because the city engineering department is doing a good portion of the design work, we kind of want to get some thoughts from the DDA board and the city commission to keep pursuing this before we get to actually bid it and then actually approve the work. So this is more of a temperature check than anything else from the DDA board.
I'd be supportive of moving forward. They're long overdue, and who knows when complete reconstruction is going to happen.
Yep.
Agree.
Just some questions. What do the blue dots represent? On each drawing on the left side, there is a blue circle.
A blue circle? Oh,
Is that the right
Is it
one?
green? I'm sorry,
Oh,
I may be green.
The dot that says you are here.
I mean,
I have to look at it. I can't read it on my piece of paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
the other question I have, it's everyone's favorite city topic is stormwater.
Yes.
And so, my perception always been that it's more cost-effective to integrate stormwater improvements when you're doing sort of new construction, rather than when you're doing, than ripping up the street, for example. So I'm wondering, so those arches, I assume those are for trees?
Yes, yes.
So we do, we have a stormwater plan, of which there are certain recommendations on how you build a space for trees and how it infiltrates into the ground and so forth, as well as other systems. So I'm just wondering, do you happen to know if engineering is thinking of those things when they're doing this? Because it seems to me this would be the opportunity for us to say, we're improving, the stormwater system on this particular block.
I think anytime there's a road reconstruction, because it's tied into the city sewer, that consideration is made. How extensive any kind of stormwater system that's above ground is incorporated into these is still, I think, for discussion.
Just ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Is this the fact that there's only one bike lane the result of having larger bump outs? And if the bump outs weren't as big, could we have a second bike lane?
No, it's actually the width of the road. So if you did a eastbound and a westbound bike lane, so 2 bike lanes, then potentially you'd have to get rid of 1 row of parking. And so that's some of the trade-off. And I think that will be part of the discussion long after the 2-way is decided. There will be ongoing conversations about what's the appropriate non-motorized infrastructure on all downtown streets. Is it a bike lane? Is it a separated bike lane? Is it a shared street? And I think that discussion will be robust and continual. So,
Any other questions? Okay, so you got, hopefully you got from
yes, I did. Thank
what
you.
you knew from us. Thank you. Arts Commission, Lauren.
Okay, now I have to do my Arts Commission presentation really well because we have a commissioner here. So we don't have a whole lot of updates. The Arts Commission still has a lot of things in motion right now. Not a lot of updates since our last meeting other than to the Mural Festival. The Arts Commission has begun promoting the inaugural Mural Festival and has announced several events associated with the festival, including everyday acts of art opening and / the TC Mural Festival kickoff celebration, which will be on Friday, September 12th at 5 p.m. at Common Grounds. It is the event kickoff for the festival, and it'll have an exhibit highlighting work that is created by past exhibition artists as well as the muralists that are participating in the festival. On Tuesday, September 16th at 6 p.m. at the Alluvion, there's going to be an artist panel. It's a panel discussion with all of the artists that are participating in the festival. And then we also have the closing parade, which will take place on Wednesday, September 17th, starting at 4 p.m. We'll start at Oriana and finish at the filling station, where we'll stop at each of the mural locations, allow the artists a chance to talk about their work, and then we'll all have a beer at the filling station.
Wonderful.
That's all.
Any questions for Lauren? Okay, thank you. So we have 2 items in receive and file. The Director of Events and Engagement report, reporting on the Friday Night Live and so forth. That's in our files, as well as the draft meeting minutes from the Governance Committee. Public comment. So any last opportunity from comment from the public or anyone on the DDA board? If not, very short meeting. Motion to adjourn? Adjourn. So moved. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.